Hi everyone, this is Kelsey and this is Essentially Booked. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I am going to get a March reading recap up a little late today. Usually I try to do this the first week of the month, but it's just been a month so far in April. I read 11 books in March and I had a strong month at the beginning and then kind of plummeted a little bit. Like the quality of the books were underwhelming towards the end of the month. I'm gonna break this video down as underwhelmed, liked, and then the things that I loved this month so that you kind of ascending order from, ascending? Yeah, because descending, I don't know. From that order. So underwhelmed, liked, loved is how I'm gonna start. So for the books that underwhelmed me, the very first one is going to be The Foxglove King by Hannah Whitten, which I thought the world building and For the Wolf was better. That had more of like a Red Riding Hood theme. I really struggled figuring out this world in The Foxglove King. So this follows Lore, who's our main character, and she is like a poison runner, but she has death magic in her, and she was raised in a cult. And she gets whisked into the court because her magic like comes out of her during a trying moment at the beginning of the book. Her powers are discovered. She ends up in the court, like not in court, and is helping them fight a surge of death magic. Because in this world, this death magic will escape from underground and it can kill people. It can do whatever. There's a religious order that is tasked with keeping that death magic underground. And so she is brought in to help them. It's gonna be at least a trilogy, so I'm definitely gonna keep reading because I do love Hannah Whitten. This just wasn't the strongest start to a series I've read. There's a love triangle in it, but not really. The love triangle is Lore, the prince, and then a priest or a monk. The monk is supposed to be celibate. The priest is bisexual. The romantic intrigue with the prince is just not very good. And like, there's just not, what I want out of a love triangle is a lot of tension and like conflict and all the feels, and there's really none of that. You feel more tension between her and the monk. I don't know. It was just, maybe it's being set up for later. I don't know. But right now, it's not doing it for me. So I was pretty underwhelmed by that. I gave it 3 stars. I will keep reading the series, but that was The Foxglove King by Hannah Whitten. And then the next one I read was The Secrets of Us by Lucinda Berry. I'm trying to read her because a lot of people that I like have liked her. And it was okay, 3 stars, nothing spectacular, just a kind of run-of-the-mill thriller. I will say it has a foster care storyline. Lucinda Berry is like a psychologist and she dealt with children's trauma, so I know she's writing from a place of knowledge, but I wish that foster care would have like a positive stereotype in books sometimes. I feel like it is ripe for bad stereotypes. I feel like it is ripe for just basically creating this concept that all foster children are messed up. And while, yes, they come from trauma, sometimes I just struggle with that and how it's portrayed in media. And Lucinda Berry does handle it very deftly with her background in psychology and all of that. So like there is that with this. Just I think this is my overall critique when people write about children from foster care. It's always like their lives are terrible, which is true with trauma, but I would like to see some like positive stories more. That's just a general overview, like not even really specifically about this book, The Secrets of Us, but it involves 2 foster sisters who one of them is blamed for setting her house on fire and trapping her husband in, and then she proceeds to have a breakdown, and it's kind of going through like what's happening with her and then flashing back in the past. It does reference my alma mater of Iowa State at one point, so I was pretty excited about that, but all in all, pretty underwhelmed. And then I've read, to get a good book of the month book off my shelf, I read The Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I also listened to this on audio. The audio is fantastic because it's mixed media podcast, you know, all that fun stuff. Again, this was just a 3-star read. I neither liked nor disliked it. I don't feel strongly about it. It was very hype. This is YA and I'm not YA generally, and it just didn't really hit me the way I think it hit a lot of people. Also, having a legal background, there were things in here that just really stressed me out and were like not how it happens in real life. And also being married to a teacher, she did a lot of things that I feel like a high school would not allow, but it is what it is. It was fun. I read it fast. I got a book of the month off my shelf. The last book I read was Scarlett Peckham's Portrait of a Duchess, and this was an ARC. It published on March 7th. And I love Scarlett Peckham. She was indie published to begin with, and then she had a series. I can't remember what it was, but I loved it. And then this is her newest series. This is actually book 2. I have book 1, but I haven't read it. And this is about Cornelia and Rafe. And Rafe is a bisexual main character. I did a lot of bisexual reading this month. It has the marriage of convenience trope by racial artists from the aristocracy. She's treated like dirt by her uncle who owns this big estate, and they get married out of convenience. He's a horseman, and he's a part of like a secret society, they both are, that are trying to take down the aristocracy. It's very feminist, very wonderful. And she is an artist who like is trying to depict the aristocracy very sexually, very like not as a woman artist should be painting. And he is all for it. He's been in love with her forever. There's bisexual representation in here. It's very steamy. There is a MMF scene in this book, so just know that going in, but I loved it for what it was. However, it wasn't my favorite by her, so I put it in my like underwhelmed, but I did like it, so it's like, I don't know, it got 3 stars. I'll read anything Scarlett Peckham writes because I think she handles sensitive things well. I think she handles taboo things well. I think she just researches her work really well to make sure she is representing the characters in the best light that she can, and her writing is really good. So if you're looking for maybe I wouldn't say non-trendy, but like a non-mainstream author in romance, Scarlett Peckham is fantastic. All right, so now I'm going to talk about the books that I liked this month, and I do have more hard copies in this stack than I do in the rest of mine. I cleared off another book of the month. I read Queenie, and I would say this is a read-alike to Mame. More intense, more raw, more inappropriate, more bad decisions, whereas both of them are coming of age, trying to figure out who they are through relationships, exploring after like something traumatic and hard has happened. Queenie just goes at it 100%, whereas Mame, it was a more gentle exploration of grief and mental health and women's pleasure. This is her trying to almost like drown out her past by making bad decisions. And so this triggers abound, look it up, but I did actually really enjoy it. One thing that was interesting is I listened to this on audio and read it, and I was listening to it on audio and there were things in the audiobook that weren't in the book. So this book was edited down more from the audio. I just found that very interesting. The audiobook narrator was really good for this, but I liked it. I'm glad I finally got it off my shelf and read it because I had started it like multiple times and never had like really committed. So I'm just excited that this one was a win for me, given kind of the history I had with the book. And then I read The Villa for the Sleep When I'm Dead book club with Jessie. My dog's being a turd right now. This is by Rachel Hawkins, and she's written The Wife Upstairs, which I was kind of about. It was a Jane Eyre retelling. This one would be a good read-alike if you like Daisy Jones and the Six and want more of like a mystery, darker novel. If you like gothic novels, also great. This I really liked. It is classified as a thriller, and it is not. I would say it's more a historical fiction mystery, but I just really enjoyed it. It worked for me in the fact that it went back and forth in time. I was connected to all the characters. I just thought it was really well done and very enjoyable. I'm not a huge thriller reader, so I was a little nervous, but I did really enjoy this. And I was nervous too because I didn't really love The Wife Upstairs. This one I did really like, and it was fun. I'm glad I read it. It reads really, really fast. So that's one good thing. The Villa, Rachel Hawkins. And then I read Ruby Spencer's Whiskey Year, which is a romance. And what a delight of a book. It was just fun. It's what I needed at the time. Ruby moves from the US to Scotland to write a cookbook, and she falls in love with a local handyman. It has a Gilmore Girls found family vibe, the power of food and community, which those are my favorite things. So all in all, super fun. I flew through it. I think I read it in a day, which isn't normal, but I had to because it was so good. So that was really fun. All right, the last book that I liked but did not love is R.F. Kuang's Babel. I understand all the hype about this, and I think the hype did the book a disservice. I'm also probably its target audience in that one of my degrees is in history. I studied the age of exploration and how we colonized the world and how colonization and imperialism exist to enforce. So history is always written by the winners, and this book enforces that. It's very much an academic, historical, maybe fantasy. I do not like that it's classified as a fantasy because really the magic, it is a part of the story, but it's a very magical realism type thing where magic comes from language and speaking things into existence with metal, and then you create it's very complicated, but language and metalworking create the magic system in this world. It's about this school, Babel, and they translate things to create this magical system and to create the magic that keeps society going. But society really only goes and functions for the rich and the wealthy. And it's an exploration of that and how Babel has colonized and misappropriated different cultures. Just, I get the hype of it. I would say 5 stars for the academic thoughtfulness, the commentary on imperialism and colonization, all of that, 5 stars. The pace was just off for me, so it became more of a 3.75 for me because just the flow of the book, it was easy for me to set it down. The writing is phenomenal, so beautiful, but I just think it was the pacing that really hurt my opinion of the book. I get 100% all the hype. I think it's well-deserved. I think this author is doing incredible things. She's only like 26. Like, when I was in law school, I could not write a book. I could hardly function, and here she is in like graduate school with all these masters, PhD, doing these wonderful things. So that's Babel by R.F. Kuang. All right, and now for my favorite books of the month. The very first one is What Happened to Ruthie Ramirez by Claire Jimenez. And this is about a family whose older sister, like the oldest sister in the family, she just disappeared at the age of 12 or 13. Fast forward now to these girls are adults and their mom, after Ruthie disappeared, the mom gained a lot of weight, like just obviously it's a traumatic event, right? This book is not super sad. It's more funny, raw, real. But then one night the 2 sisters are watching TV and they think they notice their sister on TV. And it becomes this, do we tell our mom? Should we go find her? What the heck? They do this trip to find their sister and kind of just the emotional whiplash that would ensue with the family, but through kind of a humorous lens. The author wrote this to talk about commentary in how brown women are treated, both through like police investigations, etc., and also kind of a commentary on that culture, and just, it was a window into just a different culture, and it was great. What I loved is the book ended, and the way it ended, I finished the book and just had to sit there to sit in what this experience of a book was. I just thought it was beautifully done, beautifully written. I loved it a lot, and it's very literary, so if you're not a literary fiction reader, you probably won't like it, but I just really appreciated it, and the commentary the author was trying to do was really thought out and well done. All right, the next book I read that I absolutely adored, loved it so much, also read it in a day, is Forget Me Not. I got this as an ARC from NetGalley. I also got it as an e-ARC from Libro FM, so I listened to it and read it in tandem. This is Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. It publishes in July, so you've got some time, but I will say if you're looking for just the best romance for the summer, this one is it. It follows 2 exes. She is a wedding planner. He is a florist, which is part of the family business, and he's the best hero ever. They were dating for a while because, you know, they kept running into each other in the wedding industry, and then they break up and they're brought back together because she's the wedding planner for this wedding. He knows one of the brides and they get thrown together, and just the tension, the wedding planning background. This was so fun. It goes between present day and then their past relationships, so you understand how they got to today, how they got estranged, whatever. The past life is so steamy, and I loved it. I loved it so much. And if you guys are looking for a romance, please put this on your radar for the summer because it was so good. July 11th, it comes out. I adored it. And the audio is really good too if you like to consume things on audio. But seriously, this will be one of the romances of the summer. I really hope, because it was such a treat. All right, and then another book I read courtesy of NetGalley, and I believe it's Atria Books, but this published March 7th. It's The Golden Spoon by Jessa Maxwell, and it was my 5-star read of the month. This is described as if the game Clue met the Great British Baking Show, but it takes place in Vermont in America. And this great like Downton Abbey-esque estate. There's a cooking competition, somebody ends up dead. You look at all the contestants and try to figure out what happens. I could not put this down. It was so good. It's more of a cozy mystery, but with murder, not super graphic. You guys, please read this if you haven't. If you like cozies, I think you would love this. And even if you're me, who's not really a huge cozy person, loves mysteries more than thrillers, I think this would be just a fun read for you. But with the description of Clue mixed with Great British Baking, how could you not want to read it? I think that is the best way to describe this. So 5-star read, so much fun. I had a pretty okay reading month in March. It started out strong and then kind of plummeted because at the beginning of the month, I read The Golden Spoon. I read What Happened to Ruthie Ramirez, Ruby Spencer's Whiskey Year, and Babel. So I just had these like high expectations. And then things kind of got mediocre from there. I am really excited to hear if you have read any of those. If you have contrary thoughts, no shame, drop them in the comments. And like I said, please put Forget Me Not by Julie Soto on your radar for this summer because it was so fun. So as always, thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I'm so glad you're here. And if you could do me a favor and subscribe if you like this content, I would so appreciate it. And until my next video, I will see ya. Bye.